So, dear audience, it is my great pleasure welcoming you again to continue our journey with the noted Sudanese modern poet Ismail Hassan. And in this episode, just I would like to introduce in this part one of his masterpieces, بلادي أنا, a national anthem of identity. So I would like to tell again that among his most celebrated works is the patriotic poem بلادي أنا, my homeland, which stands as one of the greatest expressions of Sudanese national pride. Through powerful and evocative language, Ismail Hassan conveyed a deep sense of belonging and portrayed Sudan in its most beautiful form. The poem became more than just a piece of art. It evolved into a national symbol cherished by Sudanese people. To quote parts of its Arabic version before exploring it in more details, having its English translation as well as readings to the poem, I would like you to share these lines. بلادي أنا بلاد ناسا في أول شيء، مواريث كتاب الله وخيل مشدود وسيف مسنون حداه درع. So as I told, we will journey with him through this masterpiece. A poem is stand to represent the identity, the real identity of the Sudanese people.
يا بلادي ألف تحية ليك من الفؤاد. بلادي بلادي أهلا يا بلادي، صدورنا حماية ليك من الأعادي. بلادي أنا بلاد ناس في أول شي، مواريث كتاب الله، خيل مجدود سيف مسلول حداه ودرع، تقاقيب أنت سرج الليل مع الحيران، شيخ أنت الخلاوي والرع.
My homeland, thousands of greetings to you from my heart. Our chests are shields to you as protection from the enemy. My homeland, a land whose people above all inherit the book of God, their horses bridled their swords sharpened, shielded in resolve, their firewood burning through the night, to the disciples beside them in the Khalwa stands a devout Shaykh. And how many palm trees swaying the breeze above the river banks, and a milking cow humbly bleeding with the full udder, and a water wheel awakens the night with dawn's first breath. The night weeps, pouring tears into its canals. In my homeland, peace descends, soothing calm, like those who drink from the Nile. Fields burst green across the plains. My homeland carries its people, all its people, and its goodness stretches wide enough for us all. The Nile pours across the valleys, silver brightness flashing in the blaze of noon. My homeland is plains, my homeland is fields, my homeland is a paradise for those who have seen it, or even those afar who have only heard of it. My homeland is the land of people who honor the guest. Even the birds come to eat hungry, and from its furthest edges they live well fed. My homeland is the clapping and the tambour, and maidens who rival horses in grace walk likewise the small of the gadal. My homeland is safety, my homeland is tenderness, its people are compassionate. They wipe away the tears of the grieving, giving others before themselves, sharing even the smallest loop, offering food, though anger may be their fate. They love their land, die for the rights of a neighbor, walk through fire to spare a single tear. And how would it be if they saw it flowing with tears? These are my people, those I stand among, at the heart of the home with pride, and say to the world, these are my people. These are my people. I stand in my home at its very heart and declare to the world, these are my people, people of mixed Arab, warm African blood. These are my people, my tribe. Even when I try to define the separate my origins, they are the masters of my heart and my feeling. And when my mind sails across oceans of longing, seeking fragments of myself, I find them flowing through the pathways of the soul, becoming my whole being. Whenever I turn, I find them with me, always with me, like my own shadow. Had I not come from such as these, what regret, what sorrow, what humiliation would have been mine. Imagine how things would be if I were not Sudanese, and if the people of my neighborhood were not my own. Imagine how could that be? So the audience, this is just an attempt of translating this masterpiece, and I hope that it gives the meanings behind its own composition of writing. So the audience, following my reading to the translated version of the Oud, بلادي أنا, just I would like here to share some thematic meanings in which our poet Ismail Hassan tries to deliver, tries to share his own audience. Let us start. My homeland, a land whose people above all inherit the book of God, their horses bridled, their swords sharpened, shielded in resolve, their firewood burning through the night. To the disciples beside them in the Khalwa stands a devout Shaykh. These opening lines present a deeply idealized vision of Sudan, the homeland, where identity is fundamentally shaped by faith and religious devotion. The opening idea that the people inherit the book of God positions the society as one grounded in sacred knowledge and guided by divine scripture. This suggests that religion is not peripheral. It's not peripheral but central to how the community understands itself and its purpose. So the poet here in sense of pride told that the Sudanese first thing that they inherit to their offspring is the memorization of the Holy Quran, and this indicates that the first nature of education in Sudan is religious, and it is very meaning or the sense of the meaning of the word. And this historically, it has been established during a French Sultanate, starting from 1504 to the present day. So one of the things that, as I told, the Sudanese inherit to their offspring, to their children, is the memorization of the Holy Quran. The imagery of bridled horses and sharpened swords introduces the theme of discipline, strength, and readiness. These symbols are not merely martial, they also imply self-control, preparedness, and the capacity to defend values and dignity. The phrase shielded in resolve reinforces this sense of inner firmness. Fairness suggesting a people united by conviction and moral steadfastness. Among important layers is the depiction of continuous spiritual and educational devotion. The reverence to firewood burning through the night evokes a sense of endurance, study, and worship that does not cease with darkness. It conveys a dedication, sacrifice, and seriousness with which knowledge and faith are pursued. Finally, the mention of the Khalwa and the devout Shaykh situates this life within a traditional Islamic educational setting. The Khalwa becomes a symbol of spiritual formation, while discipline, learning, and guidance coverage converge under the leadership of a pious teacher. Overall, the passage portrays a homeland defined by faith, moral strength, continuous devotion, and structured spiritual community life. And how many palm trees sway in the breeze above the river banks, and a milking cow humbly pleading with the full udder, and a water well wakens the night with dawn's first breath. The night weeps, pouring tears into its canals. These lines, which is the second stanza of the ode, evoke a vivid pastoral landscape that blends nature, livelihood, and emotional resonance. The swaying palm trees along the river banks suggest abundance, fertility, and the life-giving presence of water, while also creating a sense of calm, rhythm in the natural environment. They symbolize a homeland rich in agricultural blessing and sustained by the river continuous generosity. The milking cow, described with the full udder and humble pleading presence, reflects rural abundance and domestic harmony. It points to a way of life rooted in simplicity, self-sufficiency, and closeness between humans and animals, where sustenance is shared gently and naturally within the rhythms of daily life. The water wheel that awakens the night with dawn's first breath introduces movement, labor, and continuity. It symbolizes human effort working in harmony with nature, while also marking the passage of time from night into morning. The image of night weaving into the canals adds a lyrical, almost emotional dimension, suggesting that even nature participates in sequence of feeling, grief, renewal, and release. The poet continue, and here we have the third stanza. In my homeland, peace descends, soothing calm like those who drink from the Nile. Fields sparse green across the plains. My homeland carries its people, all its people, and its goodness stretches wide enough for us all. These lines express a vision of the homeland as the place of peace, abundance, and inclusivity. The opening image of peace descending suggests a gentle, almost natural arrival of tranquility, as if calmness is part of the land's own atmosphere. The comparison to those who drink from the Nile reinforces this sense of deep-rooted serenity, linking emotional calm to the life-giving presence of the river. The mention of green fields spreading across the plains emphasizes fertility, prosperity, and renewal. It portrays the land as the fertile and generous, continuously producing life and sustenance. This agricultural imagery reinforces the idea of homeland that is naturally abundant and sustaining. The final lines shift toward the social and moral dimension. The homeland is described as one that carries its people, all its people, suggesting unity, belonging, and inclusiveness without exclusion. Its goodness, stretching wide enough for us all, conveys generosity and shared prosperity, where resources and blessings are not confined but collectively enjoyed. Listen to him while proudly reflecting his homeland as a land of goodness, of fertility. The Nile pours across the valleys, silver brightness flashing in the place of noon. My homeland is plains, my homeland is fields, my homeland is the paradise for those who have seen it, or even those afar who have only heard of it. So this stanza presents The homeland as a luminous landscape shaped by the Nile and defined by natural beauty and abundance. The river is central as it pours across the valleys. It becomes a life-giving force that animates the land, while its silver brightness under the noon sun suggests purity, vitality, and striking visual grandeur that elevates the setting into something almost transcendent. The repetition "my homeland explains my homeland" is fields reinforces a sense of openness and agricultural richness. It emphasizes vastness, fertility, and continuity, an environment that sustains life broadly and generously. The simplicity of this structure also reflects affection and deep attachment, as if the land itself is being lovingly named and reaffirmed. The final line elevates the homeland into an almost idealized space, described as the paradise not only for those who have experienced it directly, but even for those who know it only through stories. This expands its meaning beyond geography into mythic or symbolic status, suggesting a land whose beauty and reputation transcend physical presence. My homeland is a land of people who honor the guest. Even the birds come to it hungry, and from its furthest edges they live well fed. These lines emphasize hospitality as the defining moral value of the Sudanese. The description of people who honor the guest present generosity and welcoming behavior, not as occasional acts, but as a cultural foundation. Hospitality becomes a collective ethics that shapes social identity and relations. The imagery of birds coming hungry suggests that even nature is drawn to the land's abundance and kindness. It symbolizes how life itself is attracted to the homeland's generosity, implying both material richness and spirit of openness. The birds act as a metaphor for visitors, travelers, or even the needy who find relief there. The final idea that they live from its furthest edge well fed, and that is a bird, reinforces the completeness and reach of this generosity. It suggests that the homeland Sudan does not merely welcome, but fully satisfies and nourishes all who enter, no matter how distant their origin. My homeland is the clapping and the tambour, and Medians who rival horses in grace, walk likewise the small of the grey of the Ghazal. These lines evoke a homeland rich in cultural expression, beauty, and symbolic imagery. The mention of clubbing and the tambour highlights music, rhythm, and communal celebration, suggesting that the homeland's identity is deeply tied to artistic traditions and oral performance culture. The tambour, in particular, symbolizes heritage and continuity of musical expression, while the image of Medians who rival horses in grace introduces the theme of elegance, vitality, and admired feminine beauty. The comparison to horses suggests strength, pride, and fluid movement, blending delicacy with dignity. It reflects an aesthetic where beauty is not passive, but dynamic and powerful, while the reverence to the small of the Ghazal reinforces this imagery of natural grace and tenderness. The Ghazal often symbolizes innocence, softness, and swift elegance in classical poetic tradition. Taken together, these images construct a homeland defined by cultural vibrancy, musical heritage, and a poetic ideal of beauty that merges human grace with animal symbolism and natural elegance. My homeland is safety, my homeland is tenderness. Its people are compassionate. They wipe away the tears of the grieving, giving others before themselves. Sharing even the smallest loaf, offering food, though hunger may be their fate. So this stanza presents homeland Sudan as a moral community founded on safety, compassion, and selflessness. The repetition, my homeland is safety, my homeland is tenderness, frames it not just as a physical place, but as an emotional and ethical space where people experience protection and warmth in their daily lives. While the image of people wiping away the tears of the grieving emphasizes empathy and active care. Compassion here is not passive sentiment, but in lived practice, responding to suffering by offering comfort and presence. This portrays a society where human pain is collectively shared and elevated. The idea of giving others before themselves, sharing even the smallest loaf, highlights deep selflessness and social solidarity. It suggests a culture where generosity persists even under scarcity, reflecting strong communal bonds and moral discipline. Right. The final image, offering food despite their own hunger, intensifies the theme, portraying sacrifice and altruism as defining traits of the Sudanese people. Listen to our poet Ismail Hassan while describing his people and their love to their country. They love their land, die for the rights of a neighbor, walk through fire to spare a single tear. And how would it be if they saw it flowing with tears? These are my people, those I stand among, as the heart of the home, with pride, and say to the world, these are my people. So these lines center on loyalty, sacrifice, and collective identity. The love for the land is presented as an active commitment expressed not only in affection but in readiness to defend other rights. The idea of dying for the neighbor's rights elevates communal responsibility above individual survival, suggesting a deeply rooted ethic of justice and solidarity. The imagery of walking through fire to spare a single tear intensifies this sense of sacrifice. Fire here symbolizes extreme hardship and danger, while the single tear represents the smallest instance of human suffering. Together, they convey a moral vision in which protecting others from pain is worth any personal cost. The rhetorical question about seeing the land flowing with tears shifts the tone toward emotional reflection and collective grief, implying that such people are profoundly sensitive to injustice or suffering within their community. This heightens the sense of empathy and moral urgency. The closing lines affirm belonging and pride. The poet identifies fully with this community, standing at its center and declaring it publicly. And still, with the sense of pride, went on to celebrate his people. These are my people. I stand in my home at its very heart and declare to the world, these are my people, people of mixed Arab and warm African blood. These are my people, my tribe, even when I try to define and separate my origins. So this is stanza expresses a strong, affirming sense of identity rooted in belonging rather than division. The repeated declaration, these are my people, functions as both emotional conviction and public testimony, emphasizing pride in community and a deep personal attachment to one's social world. Standing at the very heart of the home suggests intimacy and rootedness, an identity that is lived from within, not observed from a distance. Then the shift to lineage, people of mixed Arab and warm African blood, introduces a theme of hybridity and cultural blending. Rather than treating mixed origins as fragmentation, the lines present them as richness and vitality. The phrase warm African blood carries a poetic emphasis on life, energy, and rooted African identity, while Arab signals historical and cultural interconnectedness. Together, they form a unified identity rather than competing categories. And listen to him. while describing his people as his masters. They are the masters of my heart and my feeling. And when my mind sails across oceans of longing, seeking fragments of myself, I find them flowing through the pathway of the soul, becoming my whole being. Wherever I turn, I find them with me, always with me, like my own shadow. The stanza explores a deeply internalized sense of belonging, where community is not just external but emotionally, spiritually inseparable from the self, describing the people as masters of my heart and my feeling, suggests that they shape the poet's emotional life and identity in a fundamental way, guiding how love, attachment, and meaning are experienced. The imagery of the mind sailing across oceans of longing introduces the sense of distance and searching within the self. This journey implies introspection and a desire to understand one's fragmented identity, yet what is found is not separation but presence. The people reappear through the pathways of the soul, suggesting the identity is reconstructed through collective belonging rather than individual isolation. The idea of them becoming my whole being emphasizes complete integration, where personal identity and communal identity merge. There is no clear boundary between self and others. Instead, the self is shaped and completed through them, while the final image of an ever-present shadow reinforces permanence and inevitability. Like a shadow, they cannot be separated from the poet, always accompanying every moment and perception. And then our poet, astonishingly, questioningly, pointed the question here as part of the poem. Had I not come from such as these people, what regret, what sorrow, what humiliation would have been mine? These lines reflect and express almost existential gratitude for origin and belonging to be a Sudanese. The opening is conditional. Had I not come from such as this, creates a counterfactual movement or moment, imagining a self without the grounding of this community. It frames identity as something fundamentally shaped by one's people, suggesting that who the poet depends deeply on where they come from. The sequence, what regret, what sorrow, what humiliation, intensifies the emotional weight of that imagined absence. It moves from personal sadness, regret, and sorrow to a more social and moral dimension, humiliation, implying that without this lineage and community, the poet would lack dignity, support, and a sense of rooted identity. Then, to the final stanza. Listen, imagine how things would be. Imagine how things would be if I were not Sudanese and if the people of my neighborhood were not my own. Imagine How could that be? So the final line celebrates, express a powerful sense of identity rooted in national and communal belonging. The repeated invitation to imagine creates a reflective space that challenges the reader or the listener to consider life without the grounding presence of homeland and community, emphasizing how central these ties are to the poet's sense of self. The conditional thought, "if I were not Sudanese," highlights national identity as a core component of personal meaning. It suggests that being Sudanese is not merely a label, but a source of emotional grounding, moral formation, and belonging. The extension to the people of my neighborhood were not my own deepens this idea by shifting from national identity to everyday social intimacy, where belonging is lived through daily relationships and shared space. While the final question, how could that be, clothes the reflection with a sense of impossibility. It implies that separation from these identities is unthinkable, reinforcing the idea that selfhood is inseparable from place and people. Overall, the line or the sound that conveys themes of deep national pride, communal belonging, identity rooted in place, and the emotional impossibility of detachment from one social and cultural world. So the audience shared this masterpiece of our celebrated poet Ismail Hassan, Billadi Ana. I present readings, thematic meaning to this masterpiece.
وبقرة حلوبة تتضرع وليها ضرع، وبقرة حلوبة تتضرع وليها ضرع، وساقيتا تصحي الليل مع الفجراوي، يبكي الليل ويدلك في جداول دمع، يخدر في بلادي سلام، خضرة شاربة مويت النيل تزغرد في البوادي زرع. ساقيتا تصحي الليل مع الفجراوي، يبكي الليل ويدلك في جداول دمع، يخدر في بلادي سلام، خضرة شاربة مويت النيل تزغرد في البوادي زرع. بلادي أنا تكرم الضيف وحتى الطير يجيها جعان من أطراف تجيها شبع. بلادي أنا بتكرم الضيف وحتى الطير يجيها جعان من أطراف تجيها شبع. بلادي أنا بتشيل الناس كل الناس وساع بخير ولينا يسع. بلادي أنا بتشيل الناس كل الناس وساع بخير ولينا يسع، وتتدفق مياه النيل على الوديان بياض الفضة في وعج الهجير بيشع. بلادي الصفقة والطنبور، بلادي الصفقة والطنبور، وداراتا تنح في الليل وبنوتا تحاكي الخيل، يا شابة زي جني الريل وشبال مكانت في طريف ودع. بلادي الصفقة والطنبور، بلادي الصفقة والطنبور، وداراتا تنح في الليل وبنوتا تحاكي الخيل، يا شابا زي جني الريل وشبال مكنتل في طريف ودع. بلادي سهول، بلادي حقول، بلادي الجنة اللي شافوها أولى البر بيها سمع. بلادي بلاد من التاريخ، من ترهاقة، من ترهاقة لعن جعفر المنصور حتى جاي عبر الوادي خيل دروع. بلادي بلاد من التاريخ، بلادي بلاد من التاريخ، من ترهاقة لعن جعفر المنصور حتى الجاي عبر الوادي خيل دروع. بلادي أمان، بلادي أمان، بلادي حنان وناس حنان، يكفكفوا دمعة المفجوع، يبدوا الغير عليه ذات، يقسموا اللقمة بينات ويدوا الزاد حتى إن كان مصير جوع. من ترهاقة، من ترهاقة لعن جعفر المنصور حتى الجاي عبر الوادي خيل دروع. بلادي أمان، بلادي حنان وناس حنان، يكفكفوا دمعة المفجوع، يبدوا الغير عليه ذات، يقسموا اللقمة بينات ويدوا الزاد حتى إن كان مصير جوع. بيحبوا الدار، يموتوا عشان حقوق الجار، يخوضوا النار عشان فد دمعة. كيف الحال كان شافوها سائلة دموع ديل أهلي، ديل اهلي بقيت في الدارة وسط الدارة واتنبر واقول للدنيا كل الدنيا ديل اهلي، ديل اهلي البقيت في الدارة وسط الدارة واتنبر واقول للدنيا كل الدنيا ديل اهلي، عرب ممزوجة بدم الزنوج الحارة ديل اهلي، عرب ممزوجة بدم الزنوج الحارة ديل اهلي، ديل قبيلتي لما ادور افصل ليل بدور فصلي اسياد روحي والاحساس وسافر في بحار شوق زما انا عقلي اقول بعضي الاقيهم تسربوا في مسار بالروح بقوا كلي محل قبلته القاهم معايا زي ضلي، محل قبلته القاهم معايا زي ضلي، لو ما جيت من زيديل كان اسفايا ومأساتي وذلي، لو ما جيت من زيديل كان اسفايا ومأساتي وذلي. تصور كيف يكون الحال لو ما كنت سوداني واهل الحال رباح.